Istanbul is the third largest city in the world. Over 18 million people live there, and half of it is in Asia and half is in Europe. Statistics and textbooks can tell you a lot about a place, but there's so much more. Textbooks can't tell you what it feels like to have the wind blow through your hair while you're on a boat in the Aegean Sea. They can't tell you what rose tea tastes like. It can't tell you what it feels like to constantly switch between the smells of cigarettes, fresh squeezed pomegranate juice, and doner kebabs as you walk down one of the busiest streets in the world. Textbooks can't capture the feeling of having thousands of Turkish people call out to you in the Grand Bazaar trying to get you to buy their products. Having been to 8 different countries and several of the United States, I can give a first-hand account of how traveling has made me a better person and can make others too. Today, I want to talk about why traveling is worth your money and how to do it cheaper, how it makes you a better person, how to make the most of your time, and why you should do it now. Money is usually the biggest issue with traveling, so we'll start with that. Everyone knows traveling is one of the most expensive hobbies that there is. Vacations can cost thousands of dollars for airfare, food, lodging, plus extra spending money. That number can also increase if you do it through a travel company with pre-booked hotels and tours. I have the most experience with travel companies because my 2 main trips that I've been on have been through travel companies. But I've done some research on traveling for cheap. According to Stuffed Suitcase, a blog about family travel, the estimated cost of transportation on a 7-day vacation for a family of 4 is $1,500. This estimate is broken into $1,200 for airfare, $200 for a rental car, and $100 for parking or shuttles. Airfare prices are pretty much set. You can look on different days and different websites to try and find cheaper flights, but it's most likely going to be expensive. The other costs, however, are a little bit more flexible. Other costs can be avoided by simply taking public transportation. May not be as glamorous, but it'll save a couple $100. It'll be worth it. Also, according to the same blog, Stuffed Suitcase, the estimated cost of accommodations for the same family would be about $1,300. These costs can be avoided by staying in lower quality hotels or hostels if you're abroad. Another option could be couch surfing. Couch surfing is an online community of travelers that stay at each other's homes for free. While there is some risk involved, they have reviews online and all that kind of thing that you can look at so you know that you're staying in a safe place. Obviously, that wouldn't work with a family situation, but for traveling alone or with a small group of adults, it's an option. Simple changes like these can make a trip more affordable. If you're traveling and staying somewhere indefinitely, working abroad is an option as well. In an article titled "The Ultimate Guide to Traveling When You Have No Money," blogger Nomadic Matt gives a list of ways to earn money while abroad. Some of those options can be an au pair, which is a nanny, hostel worker, server, farm worker, dive instructor, tour guide, or cruise ship worker. In the end, it's still going to be expensive. For me, the experience is definitely worth the cost because of the things that I've learned and experienced. If I hadn't been willing to pay, I wouldn't be the same person I am today. If you love something enough, it's always worth it. You just have to make it a priority. Traveling is also worth the expense because it truly makes people better. Oftentimes, Americans have subconscious misconceptions and prejudices about other places. For example, I'm from Colorado. When I first moved to Idaho, the question people asked me are people always high around you? And no, that's not true. It's just a misconception based on one thing that people know about Colorado. Another example is when I first went to Turkey, I was expecting it to be a very conservative Muslim community. But when I got there, that wasn't the case. It's very westernized. I saw some people in full burqas, like half the girls in the traditional hijab coverings, but half the girls were also they didn't have anything on their heads. So it was very different than what I expected. The best way we can educate ourselves is to see and experience places firsthand. Americans can also have egocentric attitudes, thinking the United States is the only good place to live and that the world revolves around it. When you travel to a different country, you can see that that's not true. From an article called 7 Reasons You Should Travel While You're Young, Sarah Hansen says, traveling sometimes puts you in tough situations. You see that the world is much bigger than your perspective on it. You soon realize the world doesn't revolve around you. You learn that you really weren't big fish in the ocean, but just a tiny minnow in a pothole. If you travel and make the most of your time, you can gain a passion for life and learning. This is important for making people happier and better and more successful. I don't think I've ever been happier than when I was in Turkey. Traveling also makes for well-rounded people. It's fun to be the most interesting person in the room. It's exciting to be able to say, oh, that story reminds me of this one time when I was in Turkey, or this one time I was in Greece. It can also help to get a job or make friends because you become more relatable in different ways. In an article called 7 Reasons Why Exactly You Should Travel, Cody Delastrati says, a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology reported that studying and living abroad changes personality for the better. And I can definitely attest to that because after my travels, I became, just as he said, it changed my personality and it was definitely for the better. That only works if you make the most of your time, though. How does one do that? When you get to a new place, it's tempting to spend a day catching up on sleep and resting. It's also to do the same thing after being there for a while. These might be good intentions because you want to be well rested to enjoy your days, but if you do that, you're starting off your adventure with sleep as one of your main priorities. Yes, sleep is important, but if it's your first priority, you'll miss out. The last thing you want to do is come home regretting something you didn't do. My first trip that I went on in high school was to Europe, and one of the nights I was really, really tired, and I just wanted to sleep because traveling is tiring. But most of the group went out and they wanted to find something that Paris had to offer, something fun to do that night. Since I was so tired, I decided to stay in, and that's one of the biggest regrets of that trip I have because I missed out on an adventure. Crazy stuff happened, and I missed out on it. But on the other hand, when I went to Turkey, I decided that I wanted to come home with no regrets. So every single night after we got to the hotel and we're done with our regular activities for the day, me and a group of other people went out and we found random things to do. We hiked mountains, we went to weird stores, while a lot of people were just sitting in the hotel. And I can honestly say that I have no regrets. The only regret I might have is that I wasn't better at keeping a travel journal. That's a good way to make the most of your time as well. It's fun to look back and see how you grew and how happy you felt in those moments. It's easy to say that someday you'll travel. Make that day today. If an opportunity comes, take it. I almost didn't go to Turkey because I felt like the timing wasn't right. But then I realized that I might never have a chance to go to the Mediterranean again, and honestly, I might not. You don't know what life will throw at you 5 years from now. Take the time and you won't regret it. So in conclusion, if you can't afford to travel, find a way to do it for cheaper and it will always be worth the money. Don't pass up opportunities, and when you do get the chance to travel, don't waste your time. Live life to the fullest and take advantage of the opportunity you've been given. Do all of this because traveling will make you a better, happier person. In an article titled 13 Reasons Why You Should Travel More on StoryPick.com, an anonymous author said, "We often feel like we're bound to all the things around us, a job, money, society. In reality, we're the ones keeping ourselves tied down to these things. Traveling opens your eyes to many possibilities and teaches us that we can get up and leave if something bogs us down, and that nothing can control us if we don't let it." Thank you.